The probability of you being alive right now is 1 in 10 to the power of 138. That is not a normal number. It is so absurdly large that it surpasses the total number of atoms in the entire known universe. Mathematician Emile Borel established that any event with odds less than 1 in 10 to the 50 is considered impossible. Your existence is trillions of times beyond impossible. And yet here you are, breathing, listening, existing against all odds. 122 conditions must be precisely calibrated for life to exist on this planet. Oxygen must sit at exactly 21%. 1% less and you could not breathe. 1% more and the planet would burst into spontaneous combustion. Gravity, the expansion rate of the universe, the magnetic field, the cosmological constant. All tuned with a precision that defies any explanation rooted in chance. Every single variable, set perfectly from the very first second. Imagine someone scattering 10 to the power of 138 golf balls across the universe. Now imagine being asked to find one specific ball, painted red, on your very first try, with 0 clues. The odds of finding it are exactly the same odds that the conditions of the universe had of aligning to permit life on Earth. And yet they aligned. Every single one. Perfectly. The question that haunts scientists and theologians alike is, was this luck or design? But the question about life does not end with mathematics. It goes much deeper. If science has shown that our existence is statistically impossible without a designer, what does the Bible, the oldest and most read book in human history, say about creatures that defy our understanding? About beings that do not belong to our world? And about the possibility that we were never alone? Today we explore 3 mysteries that science alone cannot explain. 3 ancient answers in plain sight. To understand what the Bible says about life beyond Earth, we need to start in a place few would expect. The Book of Job. Considered by many scholars the oldest text in the entire Bible, possibly written before Moses received the 10 Commandments. Job was an extraordinarily wealthy man who lost absolutely everything. Children, health, fortune. And at the peak of his suffering, when he dared to question the plans of God, he received an answer no human being would ever expect to hear. God did not answer the questions of Job. Instead, he asked his own. Where were you when I laid the foundation of the earth? Who shut the sea behind doors when it burst forth? Have you ever commanded the morning to appear? Then in chapter 40, God describes a creature that should have made Job tremble. The Behemoth. The Hebrew use is behemoth, meaning the supreme beast. Not an ordinary animal. The largest, most powerful and most awe-inspiring creature that ever walked the earth. The biblical description is surgical. Behemoth eats grass like an ox. Its strength is in its loins. Its bones are like tubes of bronze, its ribs like bars of iron. Then comes the detail that has intrigued researchers for centuries. The text says it stiffens its tail like a cedar. A cedar of Lebanon. Massive trees with trunks 2 to 3 meters wide. For centuries theologians tried to fit this description to a known animal. Hippopotamus. Elephant. Crocodile. None of them work at all. The hippopotamus has a tiny tail. So does the elephant. No living animal today possesses a tail that could be compared to a cedar tree. But do you know which creature did? A sauropod. Brachiosaurus, Diplodocus, Apatosaurus. Gigantic herbivores with tails 10 to 15 meters long, bones dense as bronze, ribs massive as iron. The description in Job 40 fits a long-necked herbivorous dinosaur with astonishing precision. And if that already surprises you, wait for the very next chapter. In the following chapter, Job 41, God describes another creature. The Leviathan. And the description is terrifying. A sea creature whose scales are so tight that not even air passes between them. It sneezes flash light. From its eyes come sparks of fire. From its mouth come burning torches. From its nostrils comes smoke like a boiling pot. The text adds that iron is straw to it, and bronze is rotten wood. No human weapon could even scratch this creature. Nothing could. Some researchers associate Leviathan with Sarcosuchus or Dinosuchus, prehistoric crocodilians up to 12 meters long that dominated ancient shallow seas and rivers. Others suggest marine creatures not yet catalogued by paleontology. What we know is that the Bible describes, with striking detail, beings that match the profile of animal science only rediscovered millions of years later. The word dinosaur did not even exist when Job was written. That term would take millennia to appear. The word dinosaur was coined by Richard Owen in 1842. Centuries after the book of Job was written. Before Owen, nobody used that term because fossils had not yet been systematically studied. But the biblical text already described creatures that ate plants like cattle, had tails like cedars, bones like bronze, and breathed fire. The inevitable question is this: how did the author of Job know how to describe something that science would only catalog thousands of years later? And here we arrive at the first pillar of our investigation. If life on Earth required 122 conditions perfectly calibrated, with probability of 1 in 10 to the 138, and if the biblical record describes prehistoric creatures with precision that science only confirmed millennia later, then we face something far beyond chance. A knowledge that transcends human time. But this is only the beginning. The second mystery is far greater. There is a question that scientists, philosophers and theologians have debated for centuries and that in recent years has become the obsession of entire governments. Are we alone in the universe? In 2017, the Pentagon officially admitted the existence of a secret program to investigate unidentified flying objects. Trained military pilots testified about objects defying the laws of physics. Congress held public hearings on the subject. The world took notice. The modern world looks at the sky and asks, is anyone out there? But what if the answer had been written thousands of years ago? What if the Bible, the book that described dinosaurs before paleontology existed, also described beings from other worlds before telescopes were invented? The Bible does not speak of gray extraterrestrials with enormous eyes. But it speaks of something far more disturbing. Beings that exist outside our reality, watching humanity, possessing immense power. The prophet Isaiah, in chapter 57 verse 15, writes that God inhabits eternity. Not the sky as a physical place with clouds and stars. Eternity. A dimension that exists outside our time and space. And in that dimension, according to Revelation chapter 5 verse 11, there exist millions upon millions of angelic beings. Not dozens. Not hundreds. Millions. Conscious, intelligent beings with their own will, existing on a plane that our senses simply cannot perceive or detect. And they are not passive beings. The Apostle Paul, in 1 Corinthians chapter 4 verse 9, writes something extraordinary. He says the apostles became a spectacle to the world, to angels, and to men. The original Greek word is Theatron, from which we get our word theater. Paul is saying that angelic beings watch humanity the way an audience watches a play unfold on stage. We are being observed. Not by aliens from another galaxy. By spiritual beings from a dimension surrounding us. But the most impressive description of non-human beings in the entire Bible is in the book of Ezekiel, chapter 1. Ezekiel was a priest exiled in Babylon when the heavens opened before him. What he saw defies all imagination. 4 living creatures, each with 4 faces. The face of a man in front, a lion on the right, an ox on the left and an eagle behind. Each being had 4 wings. 2 covered the body. 2 extended upward toward the sky. And beneath the wings, they had human hands. But the most disturbing detail of Ezekiel's vision was not the living creatures. It was the wheels. Beside each creature stood a wheel. And each wheel had another wheel inside it, perpendicular, forming a three-dimensional structure that could move in any direction without turning. The rims of the wheels were covered with eyes. Eyes everywhere. The wheel within the wheel. Ancient astronaut theorists claim it was a spacecraft. But the biblical text says something entirely different. Ezekiel identifies what he saw as the mobile throne of God. Not a ship. Not a machine. A manifestation of divine presence that moved with the cherubim. Those four beings with multiple faces were not aliens visiting Earth. They were beings created by God to carry His glory across dimensions. The structure of wheels within wheels, covered in eyes, represented divine omniscience. God sees everything, in every direction, across every dimension, simultaneously. No blind spot. No limit. And Ezekiel was not the only one to witness supernatural beings manifesting in the physical world. The prophet Elisha, in 2 Kings chapter 6, was surrounded by an enemy army. His servant panicked. But Elisha prayed and said, "Lord, open his eyes." And when God opened the eyes of the servant, he saw something that changed everything he understood. The entire mountain was covered with horses and chariots of fire. An invisible angelic army, present all along, protecting them. And then came Elijah, the most dramatic prophet of the Old Testament. After confronting 450 prophets of Baal on Mount Carmel, after calling fire down from heaven, after outrunning the chariot of King Ahab on foot, Elijah received an ending no other human has ever received. In 2 Kings chapter 2 verse 11, while walking with his disciple Elisha, a chariot of fire pulled by horses of fire appeared between them and physically separated the two men from each other. Elijah did not die. He was taken up, carried into the heavens in a whirlwind, before the very eyes of Elisha. A vehicle of fire descended from another dimension, separated two men walking side by side, and carried one of them away forever. Elisha cried out, my father, the chariot of Israel and its horsemen." And then Elijah vanished. Forever. No tomb. No funeral. No body. A human being was removed from earth by a supernatural transport the Bible describes as living fire in motion. Now let us connect all three pillars. First, science shows that the probability of life existing by chance is 1 in 10 to the 138. Trillions of times beyond the mathematical threshold of impossible. Second, the Bible describes prehistoric creatures with precision that paleontology only confirmed millennia later. Third, the biblical text describes beings from other dimensions, with forms that defy earthly biology, watching and interacting with the world around us. And here is the point that changes everything. When someone asks whether life exists beyond Earth, the assumption is that we are searching for biological life. Bacteria on Mars. Microorganisms on Europa, a moon of Jupiter. Radio signals from distant stars. But what if extraterrestrial life is not biological at all? What if it is spiritual? What if the beings the Bible has described for thousands of years, angels, cherubim, seraphim, are what the modern world desperately seeks in the skies? Consider this carefully. The Bible describes beings that exist outside our planet, outside our time, outside our dimension. Beings with intelligence, free will and power over the physical world. Beings that can manifest as fire, as light, as forms the human mind can barely process. 4 faces. Wheels covered with eyes. Millions of them around the throne of God. If that is not extraterrestrial life in the most literal sense of the word, life that exists outside the earth, then nothing is. And there is a scientific argument that destroys the idea that life arose by chance on another planet. When scientists suggest life arrived on a meteorite from another solar system, transported by Panspermia, they are not solving the problem of the origin of life. They are simply changing the address. If life cannot arise spontaneously on Earth, with all 122 conditions perfectly calibrated, why would it arise on a planet with conditions even worse than our own? It is like saying a letter was not delivered to your house, but showed up at the building next door, without a postman. The fundamental problem remains exactly the same. Where did the genetic information come from? Human DNA contains 3 billion base pairs, organized in a sequence so specific it functions like programming code. Code requires a programmer. Information requires a mind. And the greatest mind described in any text in history is the God of Genesis, who created all that exists. And if life were found on another planet, it would not disprove God. It would prove exactly the opposite. If the conditions for life on Earth are already statistically impossible without a designer, finding life elsewhere would mean the designer acted in more than one place. More creation, not less. More design, not less. More evidence of a mind behind everything we see. The existence of life beyond Earth, if confirmed, would be the single greatest argument in favor of God, not against him. So let us bring it all together. Modern science tells us the probability of our existence is so absurdly small that, by the Borel principle, it should be classified as impossible. 10 to the 138. A number that does not fit inside the human mind. It is as though the entire universe were a lottery with more combinations than atoms exist, and we hit every combination at once. Without buying a ticket. Without knowing the rules. Without knowing we were playing. And yet here we are. On a planet where oxygen sits at the exact proportion. Where gravity neither crushes us nor lets us drift away. Where water exists in liquid form because the distance from the sun is calibrated to the cosmic millimeter. Where an invisible magnetic field shields us from radiation that would destroy all life within hours. 122 variables perfectly tuned. Not 90. Not 100. 122. All at once. From the first second. The Bible is not afraid of this question. It answers from the very first page. In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. Not heaven, singular. The heavens, plural. The original Hebrew use is Shamayim, indicating multiple layers of existence. The atmospheric sky we see above. The cosmic sky with its endless stars and galaxies. And the heaven of heavens, the dimension where God dwells with millions of angelic beings. The Bible always knew. Science is only now catching up. And the dinosaurs? The Bible does not ignore them. It describes them with precision that humbles any attempt to deny the connection. Tails like cedars. Bones like bronze. Sea creatures that breathe fire and whose scales are impenetrable to any weapon. The author of Job was not inventing fables. He was describing what he knew from direct revelation. And if humans and these creatures coexisted at some point in history, it confirms the Bible. The text is far older than we assumed. As for beings from other worlds, the Bible is emphatic. They exist. But they are not the gray aliens Hollywood invented. They are angels, cherubim, seraphim. Beings with 6 wings who cover their faces in the presence of God. Beings with 4 faces who carry the divine throne across dimensions. Beings of fire who transport prophets beyond this world. And millions of them observe humanity right now, at this very instant, like an audience in a cosmic theater. We have never been alone. Never. The next time someone looks up at the night sky and asks whether we are alone, the answer is no. We never have been. Science tells us our existence is a statistical miracle classified as impossible. The Bible tells us it was an intentional act of creation. Science searches for life on other planets with telescopes and probes sent across the void. The Bible tells us life from other planes of existence is already here, watching us, protecting us, manifesting in ways we can barely comprehend. And perhaps that is the greatest mystery of all. Not the question of whether life exists out there, but the question of why life exists here. Why, among all possible combinations, among all impossible probabilities, among all the universes that could have existed without any form of life, this universe exists. And you are in it. Breathing. Listening. Existing. 1 in 10 to the power of 138. Impossible by every calculation known to man. And yet, here you are. If you believe all this is chance, I respect that fully. But consider that Emile Borel, one of the greatest mathematicians of the 20th century, determined that any event with probability less than 1 in 10 to the 50 simply does not happen. And your existence requires 1 in 10 to the 138. 88 orders of magnitude beyond the threshold of impossible. If there is a line where chance stops being an answer and design becomes the answer, we crossed it. The Behemoth of Job, with its tail like a cedar, shows us the Bible described the natural world with precision science would take millennia to confirm. The cherubim of Ezekiel, with 4 faces and wills covered in eyes, show us beings and dimensions exist beyond our perception. And the chariot of fire that took Elijah shows us the barrier between our world and the supernatural can be broken. The question is not whether life exists beyond Earth. It is whether we are paying any attention. If this story made you see the universe with different eyes, share it with someone who is also searching for answers. Subscribe to the channel and turn on the bell, because every week we bring stories connecting the Bible with the greatest mysteries of science and history. In our next video, we dive into the longest and most agonizing journey of the entire Old Testament, the 40 years in the desert after the Red Sea closed. What happened there changed everything. See you next time.